Good morning, everyone. Couple of minutes before 12 my time, 11 for the others. So let's just wait until the rest is there. For everybody in the call, I just would like to inform you that we're recording this session. So I hope it's okay with everyone. So we can also send it to you later for review.
Hello.
Hey, hello, Sanne.
Hello.
I'm currently in Tallinn, 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock CET. Let's just wait a couple of minutes and, or let's just 1 minute. I'm waiting for Kuba also to join and then we can get started. Everybody can hear me all right? Let's see some thumbs up. Okay. First of all, Sanne, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Very, very nice that you join us today on your birthday to share your knowledge with us.
Of course.
I hope you have a. Oh, there we go. We got the candles coming. This is so cool, and the hearts. We were contemplating
to. Guys. Now I really
we were
feel
contemplating to start singing or to do something weird, but let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have a nice group here. Let me start off from my side. My name is Emil Koolstra. I spend my working days on two things. I'm a product owner for some larger web shops in the Netherlands. I did that for the Dutch Red Cross, Zeeman, Zinks, and currently working as a product owner at Grand Vision. Besides that, I'm owner of Unify. That's my current job right now. And I'll be doing the introductions today. I see that Kuba also joined us. Hi, Kuba. Hello. Let me take you to the plan we have for this morning. I hope you can see my screen. So today, after the introduction, we have with us Kuba and we have with us Sanne from Hyva. The following hour will be filled as follows. We have a little introduction from my end. After that, Kuba Zwoliński, the owner of Snowdog, will give his presentation and his view on accessibility and its role in e-commerce. After that, happy to have Sanne join us on her birthday. We'll talk about how Hyva has implemented or has a solution for implementing the accessibility standards. And at the end, if needed, we have a little room for a Q&A session. So this is how we would like to proceed. To start off, quick introduction for the ones who don't know about Unify or who don't know about me. I'll keep it very short. I started Unify about in 2008. Since 2010, fully focused on Magento. Our office is based in Niš, Serbia. We've always been 100% Magento focused, so we didn't cheat with Shopify or with Shopware. We stayed loyal to our early relationship, still going strong in this matter. Since last year, since the last couple of years, very excited about Hyva, early adopter, gold partner, with a nice portfolio being built right now. And our core competences are basically in the Hyva development. Majority of our business is just to support our existing customers. And we have a strong team that helps with e-commerce consultancy and management. So a little bit of background. Very proud of our last shop that we launched last week for the NRC Webwinkel, one of our major enterprise Hyva projects, and a bunch of other customers we're happy to work with since a very long time. So this is a little bit of an introduction. Now, if we focus on the topic of today, accessibility, we started early this year and we said this should be a topic, and our start was this should be a topic because there's a law coming. And so we started talking about the law, and Luca, my colleague on marketing, said, okay, well, this is the law, and this is when the law is effective. So webshop merchants need to comply with the law in 2025. So we were very driven from this, you have to do it. And I'm very happy Kuba joined us here, because he opened my eyes a bit. I was at Meet Magento UK, and I visited his presentation, and I will not say what he said, because I will probably start talking about this presentation. But he basically opened my eyes and said, it's not about the law or the legislative, it's about the opportunity and the fact that there are just a lot of people and customers and site visitors who are affected in some way or another by having good accessibility standards implemented in your webshop. So from there on, more enthusiastic about the topic, because law is boring and helping customers and site visitors and selling more is more interesting. So we decided to organize this webinar. I'm happy both Kuba and Sanne are here to share their view and expertise on the topic. Yeah, from this part, I would like to hand it over to Kuba. After, I suggest that everybody just keeps his questions for during the QA session at the end. And of course, afterwards, after the presentation, there are some questions left or questions unanswered. We'll be just taking the notes and we'll be getting back to you. So, Kuba, if you can take it over from here.
Hey, hello. I need 1 more minute to connect. Just so I can just say hello and thank you for invitation to this webinar. So I have a small technical problem, but in 1 minute I should sort it out.
No problem. So can I get some thumbs up from everybody if this is the first serious session you are having to learn about accessibility? So for whom is this totally new? Okay. I see some thumbs up flying in. I don't know what the other icon is, but it's silent now. So who has? So let's stop the thumbs up if you're for whom it's new, and if you already sort of in-depth investigated it and you already actively worked on your web shop to ensure it meets the accessibility standards. Who's in the call with already a detailed knowledge and implementation about the topic? Okay, so that sort of explains it. Happy that everybody is diving into this topic then. Kuba, you're almost ready to go, or you need some more? Can you hear us, Kuba?
Oh,
The connection looks like shaky. Kuba, is it an idea to maybe have Sanne present first?
I can do it.
Sanne, would it be an option for you, or are you still working on your presentation?
No, it's done. Thanks to the help of my colleague.
Oh wait, I see a sharp picture now from Kuba. Are you ready, Kuba?
yes, looks like I'm back.
Okay.
So all I have to do is to share my screen. Second. Okay, can you see the presentation? It's not there.
Yeah, we see an icon right now. That's correct.
But I don't see it here. Can you see the shared screen?
Yeah, I think
I
you can see it, but it's a bit blurry, the image. But maybe that's intentional.
Not really.
Hmm.
It has to be the Zoho webinar thing. It doesn't want to share my keynote presentation. Sorry for delay.
no problem.
Let's try again. Okay.
Yes. Contact. All good.
Can you see a slide? Building a sustainable accessibility program for your team?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. So we have a success. So thank you for your patience. It's like, a few years after pandemic started, we still have problems with technology, or at least I have. So I don't know how much more remote working I need to make it work. Anyway, let's start. As you said, it's kind of summary what I presented at Meet Magento UK, and the basic concept is that technology is there, and maybe it would be even better that I would have my presentation uh, after after talk about technology and Hyva accessibility. But maybe I will just go a little bit ahead and start from my favorite thesis that right now accessibility is not about technology. Technology is there and is available for a long time. But accessibility is about building the right program and awareness in every team. And by every team, I mean not only agencies and technology providers, but most of all merchants. So they understand why accessibility is important and why it's just worth investing just time, if not money. So just a short introduction why accessibility, why we are talking about that. Of course, as you said, it's a law. We have upcoming local regulations related to European Accessibility Act, but we also have already working legislation around the world. We have Americans with Disabilities Act, we have Equality Act. So different countries outside of European Union already have some legislation that requires products and services to be accessible. So because e-commerce is global, we don't have to, oh, we should think about legislation in many different places around the world, not just in our country. So law is one thing, but why it really matters? Let's look at some data. 1.3 billion people, they have different kinds of disability. So 1 in 6 people worldwide experience significant disability. So 16% of the population, and 80% of disabled people have some hidden impairment. So those are big numbers. And those big numbers, they just convert to money. When we talk about e-commerce, it's all about money, about selling products and having profit. So if we don't think about accessibility, we just decide that a huge part of the population will not buy our products. So law is one thing, and the second is just the the scale of people that needs accessible solutions. What is important and very often forgotten by many decision makers is that we all use different tools. That's kind of assistive technologies. We use keyboards, we use mice, we use voice recognitions. Sometimes we use subtitles while watching videos in a foreign language or in a louder environment. And what is the most common? We use mobile more and more. And when using it outside in a bright environment, we just need a better contrast because other way it's just not readable. So that simply means that all of us have some special needs. And from time to time, we all use assistive technologies and we all use accessibility. So ability is temporary. And the last thing is that we are not getting younger over time. So when we look at those reports, this is actually a report from Poland, but it's not that different from the rest of the world. We can see how shopping, like age distribution, changes over years between 22 and 23. Let's see how numbers of people who are in different age groups are changing. We can see that just in 1 year, there is 5% of more people in the 50 plus age group. So we can see that as a society, we are getting older. And when we are getting older, we all need some different solutions. We all need solutions that are easy to or easier to use, easier to see. If we like it or not, our sight is deteriorating over time. So if we are getting older, we are not buying less. We are actually spending even more. So right now, the aging internet society is one of the most important drivers for accessibility. Because people who were creating internet when they were young and they didn't think about such such remote things as accessibility, right now they got to the age when they actually think that, oh, this is a nice idea to have something more accessible. So I will have some better interface, or I will just be able to use it at all. So that simple report means a lot. Okay, and now when we know why accessibility matters, that it's not just law, that there are way more, we can talk a little bit about accessibility culture. What is accessibility culture? It means that everyone involved in the e-commerce process, on both sides, on the investor, merchant, and on the agency, should be aware of accessibility principles. Because if we look at that slide, we can see a chain when we start with some content and analysis and build a proper user experience that's converted to user interface and that is developed into some nice solution that has to be maintained, that has to keep some level of quality, and then it can be improved, and then we need to insert more content and improve our UX. So it's like a never-ending story. And it's really important to understand that if any of those, like a chain links, are missing accessibility awareness, we may lose the whole accessibility of the system. Because it's not only about technology. Like in e-commerce, technology is just a tool. And of course, tools has to be accessible. But if for any reason we will use good tool, but we will maintain it in the wrong way, or we miss some basic issues with the content creation, or user experience, user interface changes in the future, the best tool can be very easily changed to non-accessible solution. So this is the building accessibility culture is required on every level, technology, maintenance, content, but maybe one of the most important on the management level. Management has to understand why accessibility matters and why it is important to talk about accessibility and educate internal teams at every level just to save money. Because if we add accessibility to every part of our development cycle, it doesn't have to cost extra money. Of course, it needs some investment at the beginning to educate teams, but then when it becomes a regular activity, a part of day-to-day tasks, it doesn't have to cost extra money. So we don't go to this cycle like, oh, we have a website and then we need to buy a very expensive audit and then we need to make a revolution to fix everything. That's expensive. But if we do it the right way and start with the accessibility culture, that's actually not that much complicated. And the most important, it doesn't have to be expensive. So this is about audits are important because if you want to start, you want to learn about the global situation. But if it's done right, you don't have to repeat audits because you know what's happening with the accessibility of your solution in the real time. So a little bit about WCAG because right now with upcoming European Accessibility Act legislation, every EU member country needs to have like a dedicated law, but the differences are not that significant. The main point that has to be understood that it's a base for all accessibility guidelines is a web content accessibility guideline. And whatever we change in the legislation, the basic principle is there. So if we want to start with understanding accessibility, WCAG is actually the best place to start. We can start with the official documentation, or we can just read the summary. It doesn't make big difference. It's all about understanding the principles, which are usually very logical and not something that is actually changing the whole site. They are all pretty logic elements that, when applied correctly in every development process, make the whole system accessible. And what we can use, as I said, it doesn't have to be expensive. Right now, in the world of collaboration and open source, there are tons of free and amazing, powerful tools that can help us not only learn about accessibility, but verify our accessibility and help at every part of the development. So there are some tools directly for developers, like Test Party. We have some dedicated accessibility testing included in the browser stack tools. We have great tools for Figma that can help our designers to build accessible interfaces. We have a great open tools like DevTools at Deck or Apple accessibility from the government organization in Singapore, I think, if I remembered it correctly. So there are tons of tools that can help us build accessibility culture and make accessibility part of of every single process. And here we come to open accessibility, something that could be add-on and can be also a driver for building better accessibility of the internet. E-commerce is all about money, as I said before. It's all commercial. Like e-commerce is making money, agencies are making money or building. But after all, we all need accessibility. So whenever possible, contributing to building better accessibility tools is an amazing thing. This is like a great element of open source that if we only have time and knowledge, we can contribute and help different solutions be more accessible. Because accessibility is not something extra. Every single tool should be accessible. So if we can help and we can contribute, we should do that. So that's a good example. In a few minutes, you will hear about how Hyva is becoming accessible because of their accessibility awareness, but also contribution of different specialists, including Snowdog. But here I want to also share an audit tool that we built at Snowdog and decided to release it as an open source. So if you want to create your own auditing processes inside company and you want to use your own tools that you can tweak and adjust to your needs, you can play with our open source toolset. And of course, if you have an idea how to make it better, you feel free to contribute. So that was a summary of building accessibility culture, but I think that it can give you a good overview that accessibility right now is not about revolutions. It's not really about technology, because we have this technology more or less similar for last 15, 20 years. Right now, it's just more common, and we think about it. It's about the process. If we all talk about accessibility, educate about accessibility, if we raise awareness, accessibility won't be a problem anymore, because most of the available tools and processes will be accessibility by design. And I think that's it. And now I can give the voice to Sanne, and we can hear about how Hyva did an amazing job to bring accessibility to so many happy users of Magento stores. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I ask you one question, Kuba?
Of course.
Yes. So we saw that in the subscribers of this webinar, a lot of people have to start. I understand that once it's embedded in the process, you know, it will be part of the culture, and we can move on with it. But how do we start? So step 1, 2, and 3 for a merchant which has not worked on the topic before, what would be, let's say, your first 3 steps to get going and on this topic?
Okay, so every organization needs an accessibility ambassador, someone who will do the job to create a summary of accessibility principles and present it to the rest of the company. Because the number 1 should be always WCAG, to understand what are really the guidelines to make web content accessible. But for many people, it may be overwhelming to read the whole guidelines. So I think it's very important that in every organization there will be a person that will have some extra time to prepare a summary and to start that will start educating the rest of the team. So this is number 1, that we need someone who will have a little bit of time to explore that. And point number 2 is to make that part of the process. So it cannot be a one-off activity. Accessibility to really work has to be part of a day-to-day task. So if we do it once, we can easily lose all the accessibility of the solution. So it's important that if we start it, we need to understand and accept this is a process. The process that is no end. It's just a part of every part of the development or creation and maintenance cycle. And the last thing I would say is remembering how accessibility in general is improving user experience for every user, not only for people with disabilities. So it's like it may be the first point, it may be the last point. It depends, because we are talking that it's a never-ending process to keep things at this proper level of accessibility. So we need to find to have someone who will be driving that accessibility awareness. We need to understand and accept that it has to become a part of every development cycle, and we need to remember and always repeat also to the decision makers that good accessibility improves the user experience, especially in the whole mobile revolution. When we are talking about everything being smaller and being with us all the time, accessibility is super important, because it's like it's completely different story to go through the shopping process on the watch than on the desktop. So we need to understand basic accessibility principles to make it work on those tiny devices that we carry with us all the time. So I think that's all.
Check. Thank you very much. Sanne, you're quick. You share it. Your screen is shared properly. So
Thank you.
let's
I wish
have
we
the
could share that.
presentation go to the
We're not
birthday girl.
missing any time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So thanks for inviting me today. As you can see, the title of my piece of the presentation is how Hyva helps you comply with accessibility standards and how you can keep your total cost of ownership low. My name is Sanne Bolkenstein. As you introduced, today is indeed my birthday. Credits also to my colleague Rebecca Brockton, who made this presentation look nice and gave me a little birthday badge. That's nice. I'm the commercial director at Hyva. I've been with the company for 2 years. That makes me quite a veteran already, because this is our 4th year of existence. So we're still quite a startup. So first I will tell a little bit about Hyva, what we are, what we do, in case you don't know. And then I'll dive into the accessibility part. So what have we done actually to make Hyva accessible? And I will finish with the total cost of ownership, because that's a topic that I typically get a lot of questions about. And I think it fits nicely with this topic as well. So first of all, Hyva, get a lot of questions about the name. Here is some examples of pronunciations that I hear. It's actually pronounced as Hyva, which is a Finnish word, and it means good, desirable, and trustworthy. We chose a Finnish word because our founder, Willem Wichman, lived in Finland for 5 years. So when he founded his own company, he thought it would be nice to give it a Finnish name as a tribute to his time there. But actually, the meaning of the word Hyva is ingrained in all of our DNA. So all of our products, our services, customer support, but also how we operate as a team. We really want to live by this word, good, desirable, and trustworthy. And that's what we want to deliver time and time again. So we bring value to merchants, developer agencies, and of course, ultimately end users of your Magento-based website. Hyva started out as a Magento 2 front-end theme to replace Luma. So for those of you who don't know, Luma is the default front-end that comes with Magento, with something a lot lighter. And this is because typically Luma is known for not being very developer friendly and not being very performance. So you need to do a lot of optimizations before you even start building a website. And so we wanted to change that around. And the biggest things that we've accomplished, the biggest difference that Hyva has as compared to Luma, is the reduction in page requests. As you can see here, there's only 5 versus 230 in Luma, so that's a 98% reduction. And then the same actually goes for page weight. It's only 0.4 MB versus 3 MB uncompressed, so that's an 86% improvement compared to Luma. This makes Hyva out of the box very fast, and so it gives you a faster loading speed and optimal web performance without compromising on functionalities. This is back in 2021. So when we launched Hyva theme, and nowadays, as I said, we're close to celebrating our 4th birthday. We have a whole product suite that consists, amongst others, of Hyva Checkout, Hyva Enterprise, and Hyva UI Library, all based on simplicity and performance. But I won't talk about the other products now. If you want to know more about that, feel free to visit our website. I will today focus on the theme and, of course, especially the accessibility release that we've done for the theme. So as I said, it's Hyva theme is built to maximize core web vitals. Core web vitals is an indicator used by Google to value the user experience that a site offers, and typically the better the performance of a website, the higher it scores, for instance, in a search engine ranking. Bounce rate is also going down, so visitors are 24% less likely to leave your site while pages are loading. And most importantly, I'd say the conversion rate goes up. So a mere 0.1 second change in load time can influence every step of this user journey and ultimately increasing conversion rates by 8% for retail sites. So basically, better performance means that you rank higher in Google, so you get more traffic to your website. Then that traffic is less likely to leave because the bounce rate will reduce. And that traffic, those visitors, are more likely to convert into buyers, so you have a higher conversion rate. So performance is like a 3-step rocket to increase revenue. That's fine and dandy. That's the performance part. But Hyva is, well, as we started out building Hyva, we actually didn't have accessibility in mind. And as Kuba just demonstrated, that's actually, this should be part of the process all the time. Luckily, we have met Kuba and we've joined forces with Snowdog, and they've actually helped us make the Hyva theme accessible. So we released 1.3, included dozens of major improvements aiming directly at reaching a good WCAG, Web Content Access Guidelines compliance. So how did we start? First, Snowdog did an audit of the entire theme. So they made a representative sample of Hyva Store, including a front page, product pages, checkout, etc. And then they started running tests. So there are some publicly available tests like accessibility testing tools, which is actually also used by Google and Microsoft. And as Kuba just explained, they also have developed some proprietary tools. And of course, there was also some manual testing done. Those results were documented in a public spreadsheet and categorized. And then, yeah, as you can see, I found this quite staggering. That actually 159 accessibility violations with Hyva were found for a technology that's so new. I thought, yeah, it's still, it shows that there's a lot of room for improvement. So we needed to get to work. So as I said, in release 1.3 of Hyva contains a lot of major improvements. So I will run through the 4 actually major things that we've done. The first being the front-end code accessibility. So it's important that the front-end code is actually understandable for assistive technology, IT, and systems, and it needs to be as the guidelines for web content accessibility are generally categorized as perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Perceivable meaning that anyone should be able to perceive the information that's presented, regardless of their abilities. Operable means that they need to be able to interact with that content. Understandable means that they need to be able to understand the content and also understand what they need to do with it. And robust just means that it should work for any type of user. So that's the 4 things that we kept in mind when reassessing our front code for Hyva. Then alternative text and descriptions. Alternative text for interactive elements, again, to allow assistive technology to understand and interact with the content. So providing a lot of text and descriptions for things like images and videos. Then design considerations, when it comes to color contrast, font size, or spacing, those things all contribute to the visual stability of a site and the visual inclusiveness of a site. So we went through all the design changes we made, and we made sure that they fit into the accessibility standards. And then finally, as Kuba's also mentioned, keyboard and assistive technology support, which is not only something that users with a disability need, but actually a lot of people use. So you need to think about code semantics, focus management, clear instructions for assistive technology users in complex components, so they can interact with your website regardless of what tool they use. So the benefits, I think, Kuba's also touched upon this, but I wanted to highlight why it's important to us as a company. First of all, inclusiveness. We want to be able to offer our services to as many people as possible worldwide, and making sure that your technology is accessible is actually part of that. As Kuba has also highlighted, broadening your customer base. Currently, there's a lot of people with purchasing power that do not have the ability to shop online. And by making your website accessible, you're actually unlocking this whole new segment of customers, and thereby broadening the base. Here on the right, you can see some of the most common disabilities. User-friendly experience, as Kuba's also highlighted, making your website accessible or making your technology accessible is actually benefiting user experience in general. So all of our users will benefit from that. That leads to better search engine optimization. And as I said, that's a very important factor for us because performance is also such a big contributor to that. So performance and accessibility both contribute to a pleasant user experience, therefore higher ranking in search engine results. And then, of course, regulatory compliance, as Kuba also said. There's several legislation in place already in the UK and in the US, and as of June next year, also in the entirety of the EU. So it's important that we are compliant with that legislation. So I wanted to highlight that Hyva is just the beginning, but being compliant with web content accessibility guidelines is actually your responsibility. And not to scare you too much, but I have this little graph with web accessibility lawsuits per year, which basically shows that this is an increasing topic of awareness, and so something that you should keep in mind. But Hyva is a framework that you use to build a site upon. But when you do that, it's important that you keep accessibility in the back of your mind. So think about content, text, videos, images, language. These are all elements that need to be accessible for all different types of users. The best thing that you can do to make sure that you are compliant is to test and get feedback from users with disabilities. But because I can tell you how difficult it is to interact with a website if you don't have eyesight, for instance. But I'm fortunate enough that I do. So the best feedback that you can get, I think, is from users from that segment directly. And then finally, as also touched upon by Kuba, accessibility is not a one-time audit, but it's actually an ongoing process. So make sure that you have somebody in the team, as Kuba said, an accessibility ambassador, and that you do these tests regularly to make sure that you are compliant not only now, but also in the future. Then a little bit about total cost of ownership. So this is a question I get a lot, especially when you compare open source software to SaaS solutions. So working with a theme that's compliant with web content accessibility guidelines actually reduces cost, because a lot of the things that you need to take in mind are already taken care of. As I said, we encountered 159 violations of accessibility when we ran a first audit on the Hyva theme, and we took care of all of those. So if you're not working with a theme, or if you're working with a theme that's not compliant, these are all things you need to do yourself, which will, of course, increase cost. Then one of the major benefits I would also say of Hyva is that it saves a lot of cost. So we see that when building a website, which on average takes only 50% of the time it takes to build a Luma site. So you need only half the resources to build a Hyva site as compared to Luma. But also maintenance and updates are quick and easy, making sure that you are constantly reducing those costs over time as well. Because it's a lightweight theme, it uses less resources in terms of hosting. You need less because it weighs less. That's another cost-saving element. And then this one, and the no recurring or hidden fees with Hyva theme, which is a big differentiator from SaaS solutions. The Hyva theme is only €1,000 one-off, and that includes all future updates and support. Whereas you see with a lot of SaaS solutions, they charge you per month or per year, and the cost of using that service is associated with, for instance, the revenue that is being processed through the checkout. So over time, whereas in the beginning, when you start out, it might be cheaper than building your own thing. But this, by the way, is not only for Hyva theme, it's actually for any open source solution. But over time, you see that actually those costs go up, whereas with open source or Hyva, it kind of stays the same. So all the benefits that you get from the website actually end up being your own pocket. Should say though, just to be completely transparent, our checkout and enterprise solutions, they do have recurring fees, but we are open about those and inform you up front. And there's no other hidden fees or fees associated with, you know, the amount of revenue that's being processed for your website, for instance. And then, yeah, finally, not really associated with cost, but still something that we're very proud of. So I wanted to highlight that better performance and SEO really relates to results in higher conversion rates and therefore more revenue for you as a website owner. So yeah, that was actually my bit. If you're not following us already, you can find us here on these channels, and yeah, I look forward to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Sanne. I have a couple, so I will start, and then let's see if from the group there's some more.
Sure.
I don't know if it's the first I had for Kuba, but maybe also from you. Kuba, you mentioned the ambassador to take on the project internally. So is that the product owner, or which role do you typically see should stand up in the organization and carry the opportunity? Which role do you recommend picks this up?
In my opinion, it really doesn't matter. It's important the personality. That person should have this unique skills of educating people or being able to summarize the basics in a easy to understand way. So it can be, sometimes it can be a developer, sometimes it can be a project manager, product owner, because it's not about creating an accessibility officer position. This is something else. I'm talking about a person who really wants to increase awareness of accessibility. So that person should understand some basics. It doesn't have to be a very technology savvy person, because web content accessibility guidelines are really simple. They are in most cases talking about the very basic things, and basic knowledge of HTML and JavaScript is enough. So for me, it's more about a person who wants to do that, who will get some time to do that during work, but will also have a passion to understand accessibility and to move that knowledge to others.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
one more thing, it's important, because accessibility is not as sexy as new technology, new cool framework, or some shiny design. So it needs a little bit more effort to convince people that it's important. Like every front-end developer will understand the role of performance. Every designer will understand why something has to be pretty, but it needs some work to convince them that it all should be usable and accessible in the same time. It's not only about just performance or just pretty image. So that's the tricky part.
Thanks. For Sanne, you mentioned the accessibility violations that you found in the first theme from Hyva. Do you know how many there are in the current Luma, or how many there are on a default Shopify store? Do you have any data on that? Or
That would actually be really interesting to have. I don't know, to be honest. No, so I can't answer that. But
okay.
I think, like I said, Hyva is a very new technology. So I was actually assuming that we would be quite all right, just because, making a technology in the last 4 years, you're already more aware of different types of users, etc. And still, we failed on 159 aspects. So we can only imagine that for Luma, that must be a lot more. And for Shopify, I don't know. Okay. I'm hoping it's more.
Check. Okay, and then a last question from my side, and if any participants have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A session. And I'm not sure who's going to answer it, but for one of the projects I did, we were working on a feature to increase the font size on the site, so you could hit a button and it would make it bigger, and make it smaller to increase the readability. And a discussion started whether that feature should be in the web shop, or whether that's an operating feature from the iPhone, for example, where on operating level you can set the font size. Any thought or any thought on that topic? Like when are you responsible as a merchant to fix your site? And when is it basically already handled in the operating system?
I would say that it's like 20 years ago you could play with something like that. Right now, the technology is so advanced that every single browser, every single phone device is supporting that somehow. And also when you see how disabled people are using assistive technologies, they have their preferred technology. So this is a little bit like making a back button on your website. It's just duplicating the device feature. So I would say it's just a waste of time. So the same, like, having all those fully featured accessibility models are actually so bad for the website, because the best content online is the content that is following the good guidelines, not trying to duplicate the device features.
Okay, check. So you just need to make sure that your front-end coding or your site can follow the device features properly. That's basically
not really. Just follow guidelines, because if you build your content in the right way, it's really easy to increase the font using native device features. So you don't need to add another feature in the software for that. So it's all like, if you follow the guidelines, all those things are accessible from assistive technologies.
okay. Okay, good. We went a bit technical now. Maybe if there are people in the webinar who are interested in a more development talk, it's good to know that Jisse from Jireo is organizing a similar type of webinar, but more aimed towards developers. We were planning the webinars at the same time, so I don't know if he's in the call or not, but everybody who's interested, check out Jireo for that webinar on a more developer technical level. I'm checking if there's any questions in the chat.
I think it's a little bit, it's also worth to mention that if you want to discuss some deeper accessibility features in both in general accessibility or in Hyva, so I warmly welcome you to meet Magento Poland end of this month in Poznań, Poland. We'll have a lot of discussions, also including front-end and performance, accessibility, user experience. I think right now at every Meet Magento around the world, there is a good opportunity to do that. So let's do it. The more we talk about accessibility, the more we exchange knowledge, the better it's for all our projects, because then we are all becoming those so-called ambassadors for accessibility in our organization.
Okay, great, thanks. Sanne, did you see the question, or otherwise I will from Vincent? Yeah, can you answer it?
Yes, of course. So yeah, these things have all been fixed in release 1.3 of Hyva themes. So that's why we can now say that the technology is compliant with guidelines. As I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that all sites using Hyva are also compliant, because still a lot is also depending on the way that you've implemented content, for instance, on your website. But if you want to know more about the accessibility things that we've done, so both violations and fixes that we have, I would recommend going to our docs, so docs.hyva.io, and there you can find a whole section about accessibility, with also some recommendations on how to implement or build your own website, keeping accessibility in mind.
Okay, thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
see no other questions for now. I see we're like spot on the minutes.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thanks both Kuba and Sanne for joining. Thanks all the participants to this webinar. I hope you found it interesting and that you have some next steps presented or next pieces of information to get accessibility going within your organization. You can reach everybody from this webinar easily through their websites. We'll be sharing the presentations later on. And for now, then, I wish everybody a beautiful day. Sanne, enjoy your birthday. Make a big party. And Kuba, thank you very much for joining and sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody. Take care.
For the invitation.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy birthday, Sanne.
Thank you. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.